want to talk about something deeply human that many of us experience but rarely discuss openly. The delicate balance between maintaining our sense of wonder and joy in life while facing the very real challenges of feeling alienated or ostracized in our professional lives. Let's begin with awe. That expansive feeling when we encounter something vast, powerful, or simply beyond our full comprehension. It might be gazing at a starlit sky, standing before a magnificent piece of art, or witnessing an act of profound human kindness. Awe is not just a pleasant sensation. Research shows it physically changes us. It decreases stress hormones, increases our sense of connection to others, and literally makes us feel like we have more time. In moments of awe, our personal concerns momentarily fade as we connect to something larger. But how do we access this powerful emotion amidst workplace struggles? I believe it starts with intentional noticing. The colleague who handled a difficult situation with unexpected grace, the solution that emerged from collaborative thinking, even the technology that connects us across vast distances. All contain seeds of awe, if only we pause to notice. Many of us have been told that emotional sensitivity is a liability, especially in professional settings. I'd like to challenge that notion. Your capacity to feel deeply, to sense subtle shifts in a room, to empathize with others' experiences, to be moved by both triumph and tragedy. This is not weakness. It is your emotional intelligence speaking, and it offers insights others may miss entirely. Yes, it can make workplace ostracism more painful. When you're excluded from meetings, overlooked for projects, or subject to subtle social rejection, you may feel it more intensely than others might. But your sensitivity also means you are uniquely equipped to create inclusive environments for others, to notice when someone is being marginalized, and to act with compassion you wish had been extended to you. Now let's address the painful reality many face, feeling like an outsider in your own workplace. Perhaps your ideas are consistently dismissed. Maybe you're not invited to informal gatherings. Perhaps there's an unspoken code you can't quite crack. First, know this: your experience is valid and more common than you might think. Even those who appear perfectly integrated often harbor feelings of alienation. Second, consider that sometimes what feels like intentional exclusion may be unconscious behavior. This doesn't diminish your pain, but it might open pathways to resolution. What can you do? Start small. Find just one ally. Not necessarily a best friend, just someone with whom you can establish authentic communication. Allies often multiply. Document your contributions clearly and unemotionally. Excellence consistently demonstrated can be difficult to ignore. And perhaps most importantly, don't surrender your authentic self. Conformity might seem like the path to acceptance, but it rarely leads to lasting belonging or happiness. So how do we remain optimistic while acknowledging these challenges? I believe it starts with redefining what progress means. Progress isn't always a promotion or public recognition. Sometimes it's the internal victory of speaking up in a meeting despite past dismissals. Sometimes it's creating a small oasis of psychological safety for yourself and others. Sometimes it's simply remaining true to your values in an environment that tests them. Cultivate connection outside your workplace. Volunteer, join communities aligned with your interests or values. Build a life rich enough that workplace challenges, while significant, don't define your entire sense of self. And and practice what psychologists call realistic optimism. Not blind positivity, but the grounded belief that while acknowledging difficulties, you also recognize your capacity to navigate them and create meaningful change. There is a kind of alchemy that can happen when we bring our capacity for awe and our emotional sensitivity into difficult environments. We begin to see possibilities others miss. We forge connections that transform isolated individuals into communities. We create meaning in places where it seemed absent. Your sensitivity, your desire for authentic connection, your capacity for wonder, these aren't liabilities to overcome on your professional journey. They're the very qualities that will ultimately make the journey worthwhile, not just for you, but for everyone your life touches. In moments of awe, I become translucent, a vessel for light that passes through. Without diminishing, the office towers catch morning sun like ancient monoliths, while I, unseen at the conference table, find wonder in the parallel universe of being present yet unacknowledged. My sensitivity reads like room like braille. Each subtle shift, a language others cannot decipher. They call it weakness, this tender knowing. But I've learned to name it differently. A cartography of human weather. Mapping storms before others feel the rain. The lunchroom hums with conversation. That parts around me like a careful river. I've counted 37 days since anyone has asked about my thoughts, my contribution, beyond what's required. Still, I notice how the new turns. Similarly, drift and build a bridge. There is alchemy in being overlooked. The freedom to observe without performance. To pursue excellence for its own sake. To find joy in small rebellions of authenticity. I wear bright colors on strategy days. Speak truth when platitudes would suffice. Plant wildfires in the break room windowsill. Each night I place the day's small victories in a jar beside my bed. The idea acknowledged, the moment someone finally heard me speak. The courage to remain when leaving seemed easier. By morning, they've transformed to seeds, ready to be planted in tomorrow's hours. A garden growing in unlikely soil. And when the vastness of the universe reveals itself in unexpected places, in the perfect symmetry of code, in kindness offered without expectation, in the resilience of hope after rejection, I remember wonder lives alongside wounds, and both are teachers in the watcher's path. The first time Eliza noticed the light patterns on her desk, she almost missed their significance. Fractals of sunlight refracted through the glass walls of the conference room where she was, once again, not invited to join the strategy meeting. The same meeting where her proposal, the one she'd worked on for 6 weeks, was being discussed without her. She watched the patterns shift as clouds passed overhead, casting geometric shadows that danced across her laptop. In that moment, something inside her stilled. The familiar sting of exclusion remained, but alongside it bloomed a strange sense of wonder. Pretty, isn't it? Eliza looked up to find Hiro, the new UX designer, standing beside her desk. Nobody spoke to her voluntarily these days, not since she challenged the VP's assessment during the quarterly review, not since she'd become labeled as too sensitive for pointing out ethical concerns and data collection protocols. I've been watching it happen every Tuesday at 11:15. Oblivious to the vision very much possible. The sun hits that corner panel at exactly the right angle. For about 10 minutes, this whole section of the office becomes an accidental art installation. Eliza nodded, uncertain how to respond to this unexpected moment of connection. I've been timing my coffee break around it. chest with a small smile. Probably weird, right? She said, not weird at all. After that, they began talking, taking Tuesday coffee breaks together. Hiro was easy to talk to. He listened without interrupting, asking questions without judgment. He'd been at the company 6 weeks and already seemed to navigate its social laboratory. Despite being so observant and thoughtful as he was himself. How do you do it? How do you fit in without compromising? Hiro considered this while watching the episode. I don't think I do fit in exactly. I don't expect to. I'm just here to do work I believe in, not to be everyone's favorite. But I found that being genuinely curious about people, even the difficult ones, opens doors. Not all doors, but the strategy project moved forward without her. Eliza watched from the periphery as her ideas were implemented with minor modifications and no attribution. During the all-hands meeting where the initiative was unveiled, she felt the familiar tightness in her chest, the physical manifestation of being erased. But that evening, working late, she discovered something unexpected in the code repository. Her original algorithm, the elegant solution she devised for the customer tracking issue, had been preserved intact with a comment. Eliza's solution, elegant in touch. She traced the commit history. Hiro had insisted on proper attribution in the codebase, even if the presentations excluded her name. 2 days later, an unusual email arrived from the CTO, a woman Eliza had spoken with exactly once in her 18-month company. I noticed your original work on the tracking solution. We have a new problem I think would benefit from your approach. Discussion required. Are you interested? Eliza stared at the screen for a long moment before responding with a simple yes. The project was fascinating, ethically complex, but with the potential for real impact. She worked directly with the CTO's small team. Her perspective not just tolerated, but actively sought. She found herself speaking more confidently without the constant self-editing that had become habitual. The Tuesday light patterns continued. Sometimes she and Hiro watched them together. Sometimes they were too busy. But she began noticing other moments of unexpected beauty. The perfect symmetry in a line of code she'd written out to her. The way her team leaned forward when she presented her findings. The expression on the CTO's face when Eliza's solution worked exactly as designed. On a Wednesday morning, 6 months later, Eliza stood at the podium during the company all-hands, presenting the results of her project. As she spoke, she noticed the VP who had once dismissed her now taking careful notes. She saw newer employees watching her with the same respect she once craved from others. But most importantly, she felt something she hadn't experienced in the workplace before, a sense of alignment between her inner and outer worlds. She was still the same observant, sensitive person she'd always been. The difference was that she no longer saw these qualities as liabilities to be hidden. As she concluded the presentation to unexpected applause, she caught Hiro's eye in the audience. He gave her a small nod and glanced meaningfully toward the windows, where the morning sun was creating an entirely new pattern of light and shadows across the room. Eliza smiled. There would always be rooms she wasn't invited into, people who found her too much or not enough. But she had found her way to contribute with integrity, and in doing so she had discovered something essential, the capacity for awe, for recognizing beauty in unexpected places. It was not separate from her professional value, it was